Okay. Hey, today, welcome to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is Craig Domann, your host. I've got a special guest today by way of England. We've got a gentleman who resides in California, operates in California, but he's over in England today. His name is Daniel Packard, and Daniel is by trade, he's an engineer. But what he's doing today is something very special for a lot of people, especially former athletes, former military people, and just anybody that has PTSD issues. He's created a company that he's the CEO of, and they've created a program that has a 90% success rate in helping people overcome anxiety. So Daniel, I'm feeling very anxious right now. I'm kind of feeling it right now. So I might need some therapy through this session today, but welcome to Pro Mindset today.
Thank you so much. Obviously, you're a professional level communicator. Thank you for the intro. And I always wish everybody had an intro when they start their job. I mean, wouldn't it be great if every morning your listener was like, hey, getting out of bed right now is Todd. Todd is excellent at smoothies and spreadsheets. I feel grateful I get an intro. So thank you for that intro. And I'm ready to rumble. And I always like to share with your audience the value that I'm going to bring them because your audience is savvy. Their time is valuable. There's a lot of podcasts. None as incredible as yours, Craig, but there are. I have been seeing other podcasts, and I want to earn your audience's time. And what we're doing, my company, is very rare and innovative. So I like to be clear what it is so your audience doesn't miss it. What we're doing is, and I'll tell how we came up with this, but basically your audience is walking around with things such as anxiety, fear of rejection, fear of failure, self-doubt, negative mindset. And what we figured out was that most people are just learning to manage these things. And they get tips and tools and insights to manage. And it's certainly better than nothing, but it's like being on a boat and there's water coming in and someone says, hey, here's a bucket. Okay, this will manage your sinking. Okay, it's better than nothing, but you got to spend your whole life just bailing and bailing and bailing. And it's better than nothing. It's better than drowning, but it's inefficient. And I'm going to show your audience how to stop managing these things and how you can solve them permanently so you can just get that boat going to the beach and enjoy Mai Tai. So if you want to just keep managing whatever's holding you back in your life, you should probably leave now. What I want to share with you is an understanding how to solve what you're struggling with permanently, and one of my favorite words, in a way that is simple.
Okay, Daniel. So before you got to this point, you had to struggle. Everybody's mess becomes their message. So share with everybody your struggle that puts you in a position where you created a company to address this.
Well, I know that typically people who help people struggled and then they overcome something, but not me. I was just hatched from an egg in Roswell with no issues oh, wait, that's not me. Hold on. Now that you mention it. So I want to tell you the pain that I went through specifically because it'll help make sense what we're doing. Because when we tell people that we solve anxiety, fear of rejection, self-doubt, they like it, but they're very skeptical. So I want you to understand where I came from. It'll make a lot more sense. Our company is based around getting people permanent results. And the reason results matters to me is because growing up, my dad was a scientist, a physicist, but he was also an inventor. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I would see him make things out of nothing. And he said to me one time, he said, Daniel, if something in this world isn't working, you can just invent something better. And so I did. As a kid, I would look at life and I would try and invent things. Partly like bike parts, but also I was very tiny. Not that I'm any hunky mountain of man meat now. I'm 5'8" now. But when I was young, I was abnormally small. I was the kid at the public pool where people would be like, what do they just feed him Jell-O? Like, what's wrong? Remember Webster? I was like a little Webster. Well, not a little Webster. I was a Webster. And I was very small, so I had to learn how to survive in a world with like big, scary kids. And so I would use my mind to look at systems and say, is there a way to survive being small? I remember being at a birthday party and they had a whole bunch of balloons. And in one of the balloons was a prize. So there was about 15 balloons and like 15 big kids. And they said, in one of those balloons is a prize. and go get the balloons. And I realized what this meant. It meant like 14 big kids are going to go in there storming, hitting these balloons, and I'm just going to get trampled. So before they start the thing, I look and I say, one of these balloons has got to be different. And I scanned the balloons and I scanned the balloons and I looked at the balloons and I saw one balloon in the corner and I went, why is it in the corner? And I also noticed, Craig, that it was smaller than the other balloons. And I went, I think that's it. So when the parents said, everybody go, all these big kids went and started popping all the balloons. And I'm just a little kid. I walk up, I grab the one in the corner. I walk up to the parent. I go, I think it's in here. And he said, how do you know? And he said, because it was, I could tell. And what it taught me was, if something's not working, figure out a clever way in. And so I went to engineering school to learn how to engineer things, how to basically create things that work better for the world. And the good news was that I was properly trained to look at complex problems, break them down into mechanics and mechanisms, create a prototype, optimize it until it works, until it gets results. Now, the good news was, Craig, that I knew how to make bikes work, machines work, cars work. They did not, however, teach the Danimal how to make relationships work. I don't know if that was in quantum theory and I missed it, but I came out of college completely ill-prepared, and then I fell in love, and Disney said I'd live happily ever after. Spoiler alert, I did not. And this relationship with this woman turned very toxic very quickly, and I made a mistake that I know your audience would never do, but I stayed in the relationship way too long because I was too codependent and insecure to leave. And I basically stayed in what I later found out was emotional abuse. And 2 weeks after the relationship was over, I was talking to someone and they interrupted me. And all of a sudden, my whole system was filled with terror. And I thought, oh, that's not a good sign. And then the next day, I got an email from someone and I almost had a panic attack. And I later found out I had crippling anxiety and complex PTSD. But also I had insecurity, self-doubt. And like your audience, when they have struggles, they go looking for help. And so like your audience, I went to therapists, psychologists, coaches, spiritual teachers, lived in ashrams, was in a cult, did ayahuasca, did CBT, CGT, EFT, MOUSE, like all the letters. I did all the letters from all the people with all the letters after their name. And all it ever did after $100,000 in 10 years, it just managed it. But I was in a lot of pain, Craig. And then all my friends and family walked away, leaving me feeling even more broken. And I wouldn't have ended my own life, but I definitely got why people do. Like I got it because I felt I was so unhappy. But because the experts couldn't solve this, I felt trapped. I felt kind of hopeless. And it was like, what's the point? And I really had kind of like a come to Jesus, come to God, come to universe moment where I was just like, what? I've been at this 10 years, man. Like, what do you want? Like, what? Tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. But it's been 10 years. And I basically heard this voice that was kind of the words of what my dad said, which is if something's not working, invent something better. And I went, no, you meant like a bike part and I realized that this $1 trillion industry of psychology, personal development, and therapy has well-intentioned people, but it's not getting great results. And people spend a lot of money and they still have these issues. And I call it the improvement industrial complex. And I was like, we need something better. We need something. People are in pain. We need permanent results. So, and I remembered what my dad said, which is results matter. So I started my own research company with the mission, could we reverse engineer a permanent solutions for anxiety, PTSD, fear of rejection, fear of failure, negative mindset, all these things that people are managing, could we solve it permanently? We didn't know if we could. It took 8 years total and over $1 million in research and development. We work with 3,000 people on 5 continents. I was one of the first test cases to get results. I remember waking up one morning and I just felt calm. And my mind was quiet. And I went, oh, well, that's nice, but it's going to come back. There's no way this is permanent, but it was permanent. It's been 10 years. I've been chill as a cucumber. And I'm free of all of it. but we weren't done because it worked on me, but we wanted to scale this to help millions. So it took another several years to take what was working and systematize it into an online program. It's 6 weeks. And because we care about results, we've been optimizing it. So we have a 90% success rate. And also, we don't charge people at the beginning, only at the end once they have results, because results matter. And the final thing about results is whatever I tell your audience, they're not going to believe me because what I'm saying is innovative and it sounds too good to be true. So don't believe me. At the end, I'll send you to my website. You can download one of our free techniques that you can apply to yourself so that you can get an actual result for yourself. And it's because just results matter. And I know, Craig, because you're with athletes, results are what matters. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And for those that are listening, you've got to understand that Daniel is in a green shirt. And I want him, and he's a former comedian. And I'm not trying to be funny here, but it's like, it's not the green shirt that made you better. So I want you to explain what the heck is your secret sauce? Like when you go through that, you don't have to spill all the beans, but if somebody's going to go through a 6-week program and make the commitment, what is it that's going to make the biggest impact on their peace, on their soul?
I mean, it's an excellent answer. And your question explains the problem that we solved. You said, what's the secret sauce? Because what we're claiming to permanently solve this stuff that people have had there for, decades, it sounds like what we've discovered would have a secret. People will ask me like, well, what's the magic? But here's why. That's very telling. Have you noticed that like the most impressive magic tricks, sometimes when you find out what it is, it's often a very simple explanation? Yeah. When I was a kid, David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. And when I saw that at like 8 years old, I went, oh my God, how did he do what? Oh my God. And then I found it's just like a rotating stage. It was simple. So what we discovered, it's not secret. It's that the experts missed it and we were engineers and we saw a simple thing that everybody missed. And I want to explain it to your audience because it'll make a lot more sense. So firstly, let's just look at mindset. What our process basically takes what's already working for your clients, which is that they know how to go from sort of a negative scarcity mindset to a positive, successful mindset. And that's very valuable and very helpful. And there's a reason. However, when you go from a negative mindset to a positive mindset, is it permanent? Or do you have to keep kind of like reiterating it and keep like re-upping? You
have to re-up it.
You have to re-up it.
It's like driving a car. If you run low on gas, you have to fill it up.
Exactly. Now, that's what everybody's doing. That's what I did. I had a horrible, mean, critical Rush Limbaugh in my head that would just yell at me, and I would use mindset shifting techniques. It would shift from negative to positive, but then, of course, it came back. But I'm an engineer. We want better results. So how did I get my mind and our client's mind to basically go quiet and become positive? How's that even possible? Well, because we realized that a negative mindset is a symptom. It's a symptom of where the negativity is actually coming from, which is the body. The mind is not the root cause. It's not mental health. It's not mindset. The mind is a symptom of the body because that's the way we're wired. For survival, you feel in the body first, and then your mind is a tool to get the body what it needs. For instance, you feel hunger first, and then your mind is a tool to try and, get food. Or if you're, in the forest and you hear a sound that sounds like a bear, you'll feel fear in your body first. Then your mind is a tool to either help you fight the bear or escape. So the mind follows the body. Have you ever noticed that when you're feeling calmer, your mind tends to notice more good things? And when you're feeling a little bit more nervous or anxious, you tend to find more problems or scary things. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely. And the thing that comes to my mind, Daniel, if I can interject, is our senses. Whether we feel something, whether we hear something, whether we see something, our mind responds to that stimuli.
Yes. And this is simple. We kind of know that. So instead of focusing on mindset, for anxiety and PTSD, what we discovered was at the root of a lot of things, whether it's negative mindset or anxiety or fear of rejection, fear of all these fears, and then the scary mind that follows, is that deep down, everybody is feeling a little bit unsafe. Can you see that if you feel a bit unsafe within you, you'll then feel a bit of fear in your body? Does that make sense?
No doubt. No doubt.
Now, your mind is trained and reflexes that if it feels fear in the body, it thinks there's a problem. So we feel unsafe from within, and I'll explain to your audience why. Then we feel some fear in our body that used to mean there was a real problem, like a tiger or something to solve. But now there's nothing to solve, but your mind doesn't know that. And your mind goes, uh-oh, there's a problem, and starts to create problems because it's trying to match the body. But also, we don't want to be uncomfortable. And your tool your mind is a tool to get the body what it needs. So sometimes what people do, people have sabotage. We worked with a client a month ago who said, my mind is always telling me I shouldn't be here. I'm a fraud. And she said, logically, I know that's not true. But my mind keeps telling me that. And I said, well, what if your body is afraid all the time? And what if your mind is almost trying to scare you back into your comfort zone? And your mind tells you things like you're a fraud, you shouldn't be here, you don't deserve to be here. Can you see that narrative will almost scare you back into your comfort zone? And she said, oh my God. And I said, yeah. So she went through the program and we calmed her body down. She just felt safe from within. And now, because there was no fear, the mind didn't need to create problems and obstacles. And the mind didn't need to scare her back into her comfort zone because she already felt safe. And so not only did her body calm down, but so did her mind. And then this is what's so cool, Craig. Now that her negative mind went permanently quiet, it switched to a positive, more loving mind. I used to have a horribly toxic, mean mind. Those two judges from the Muppets was in my skull. And now not only is it quiet permanently, I say nice things to myself. I look in the mirror, I'm like, you are so goddamn beautiful. And it's not because of an affirmation. It's because I feel safe from within, and now my mind can be happy and healthy.
Okay, so I'm going to see if there's any synergy or any overlap or any congruence between Pro Mindset and your program and your research. In my Pro Mindset program, what it really is about being your best in the biggest moments. And the reason why is because in your biggest moments is when you feel the most pressure. That's when your true self comes out. That's when that little pocket voice starts talking to you and says, hey, you sure you're enough? You sure you're prepared? Is he listening to me? Do they like me? All those kind of things. And interviews are perfect. It's a perfect laboratory for stress. Okay. And what I broke it down into is your story, your systems, and your stage. In your story, I don't connect it to the body, but in your story, it's really your past experiences. And you're alluding to past experiences in primal times, right? With respect to threats, danger, things like that. And that makes us feel unsafe. But people make us feel unsafe. Big brothers make you feel unsafe. Bully friends, maybe not bullying friends, but bullies make you feel unsafe. And you take on that story. So my question to you is how would you frame and how would you synthesize your program to someone's story?
Well, it's an excellent question. And just so I can properly answer, what do you mean build a bridge between my program and someone's story? Help me understand that so I can answer.
Well, you have very clearly explained that it's a body issue, not a mind issue.
Yes.
And you say it starts with the body. And it starts with feeling unsafe. And my question is, if that's your story, that you don't feel safe. You're abused when you were a kid. You're beat up when you were a kid. Everybody's got a story. I feel like people reflect their story.
Okay, excellent question. I get it. So you've had past painful, scary experiences, maybe trauma, and now based in your past and your story, you feel unsafe.
Yes.
Okay.
And so
Oh,
you operate out of that story because that's your story and that's the story you keep telling yourself.
yes. Woo! Excellent. You know your stuff, Craig. All right, I'll do my engineering mind just started to like have a intellectual thoughtgasm because it's just like this is my favorite topic. All right, I'll do my best, and then you ask. So yes, we have experience. So we have past experiences and current experiences that leave us. I mean, the word is trauma on some level. And I had complex PTSD coming out of the relationship. But also, what I realized later, it was also repressed trauma from childhood. I was carrying that within me. Now, yes, it feels like if you have a painful, scary past where you felt unsafe and you feel unsafe now, it makes sense that you think that they're linked. And they are, but they're not. Here's why. What we saw was the main reason that people feel unsafe currently is because we have a nervous system. And the beauty of the nervous system is that it's a system in the body. And we know that systems in the body, whether it's teeth, lungs, arteries, systems can fail or they can crash. They can become unhealthy. So take your teeth, for instance. Ideally, your teeth are healthy. But if for some reason you don't know how to take care of your teeth daily, over time, you're going to have an infected tooth and you're going to need a root canal. At that point, your teeth are now fragile. When your teeth are fragile, it means that if you bite into a carrot, a healthy tooth would just feel pressure. But because it's fragile, instead of just pressure, it feels a spike. It feels extra. We call it pain or discomfort. So the carrot will push on the tooth and you should feel the carrot. It should be pressure. But if somebody bites into a carrot and there's all this pain, do they blame the carrot and go, oh my God, I have complex carrot pain disorder? Do they blame the carrot? No. What do they say?
Yeah. They go see their dentist. That's what they say. I got to go to the dentist.
But what they're going to realize is their tooth is not strong. And so when pushed on the system, they're going to feel pain. So here's where it makes sense. What we saw is that every day, people are accidentally doing habits that they don't even know they're doing that are making themselves feel unsafe and a bit fragile from within. Then, past trauma or current pressures from either people, jobs, sports can push on their system. But a healthy nervous system, they would just feel it, but they wouldn't feel unsafe. They would just feel the pressure. So for me, I had horrible, complex PTSD, both from my childhood and from the relationship. And as we developed this program and we strengthened the nervous system, I felt safer and more solid and just grounded. Now, I can be in a situation where I feel a little bit of trauma. Like I'll see someone acting like my dad and I'll feel a little tiny contraction in my chest, just a little bit. But because I feel safe and solid from within, it doesn't go above about a 2 out of 10, whereas it used to be a 9 out of 10. Also, the things that used to terrorize me and make me feel unsafe, now someone can do something, yell at me, be mean or critical. I feel unsafe, but it's about 2 out of 10. It's not 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. So what I would say is, yes, somebody that has a story where they felt unsafe at one time, when we've taken this, we were working with addicts in South Africa that dealt with a lot of violence. And they did our program and they just felt safer and more solid and grounded. They still felt the pain of the past. They still felt the pain and the pressure of the present, but it just didn't affect them nearly as much. They were basically solid and safe from within. So can you see that if you, based on how you treat yourself every day, you just feel solid and safe from within, can you see that the past and the present would affect you less?
And the future as well.
Yes. And going back to pressure, this is why it's so great. You can have, I was working, again, Anthony Trucks introduced me to former athlete Vernon Fox, and he went through our program and he said, this is what pro athletes need. He said, I got a lot of sports psychology and mindset, and it was great to help me with my mindset and to visualize and focus. But in those big moments when the pressure is on, He said, I still didn't feel solid. And he said, if every athlete just felt solid, I mean, just solid from within, then in those big moments, you feel the moment, you feel the expectations, you feel it, but it just doesn't affect you so much. And that's real freedom.
I'm writing this down because here's something that I see in professional sports. As the moments are generally bigger than the average person's job. Don't get me wrong, if you're interviewing for a new job, it's a big day. You're making a big pitch to a potential client, big day, big moment. But in the NFL, every day is a big moment because you could get cut that day. And except for the superstars, everybody else is on a one-day contract. The document that they signed says they signed up for 2 years, but it's really a one-day deal every day. And so my question to you is, how do, like Vernon and different people you worked with, how can they prepare themselves so when the big moments come, they can have peace, they can have freedom, they can have clarity of focus, they can have the ability to be instinctive because they're not stressed out?
Yes. So that's what we all want. We want, whether it's an athlete who's on a one day, whether it's someone who's in sales, just anyone that's trying to be a leader and successful, you're gonna feel pressure. These elite athletes that are on one days have it more, but everybody's feeling it.
No doubt.
So I'm biased. What we saw was the issue was not the pressure from the outside. Again, a tooth can almost bite into a rock. Into really hard stuff, but you're fine. So it's not. So what I invite people to understand is that you have a nervous system, and we understand how to take care of our dietary system, a financial system, a relationship system, a goldfish system. We know how to train and strengthen so many systems in our life and our physical body. But we saw an area that people were missing, which is the nervous system, the emotional body. We were not trained to train it for strength. And we saw that it was this huge area that was causing all the problems. If your nervous system isn't daily taken care of, you will feel unsafe and wobbly from within. And then when life pushes on you, instead of just feeling the pressure, you will feel the pain and the panic and the fear, and it will mess up your performance. So what we want to do to create real freedom, that's what I have and what our clients have. They were the calmest they'd ever been during COVID because COVID was pushing on them, but they were solid from within because we trained them how to create a solid, safe nervous system. Now, here's why it's important. You're asking an excellent question. What can we do? What can we do in the moment? And what we learned is that's not going to get the job done. And here's why. Systems in the body have different levels of health. Let's take teeth again. If your teeth are just a little bit unhealthy, you get some puffy gums, maybe a little bit of blood. It's surface level. At that point, you can just brush and floss and things will come back to health. Just one tip, one tool will get the job done. What we saw in human beings is that our nervous system, it's not a surface level unhealth. It's gone deep. It's like a root canal. We have almost like a ruptured, failed nervous system. At that point, you can't do an individual technique. It's just like with a root canal, you can't just brush and floss. You have to repair it. And I'm explaining that to your audience so that they understand this because they're using individual tools and techniques and they're surface level. They're not fully bringing the system back to full health. So can you see that if somebody needs a root canal and they're just brushing and flossing, can you see, even though brushing and flossing is helpful, that won't bring their system back to health?
Absolutely. So that begs the question, Daniel, and I 1000% agree with you, that when you're in the moment, it's too late. It's the moments before the moment that you have to be right so that you can be right in the moment. So without sharing too much of your program, what is one thing or practice that people can do on a daily basis to put themselves in a position where their nervous system is not crazy and not chaotic?
I'm going to give you two answers, not the one you want. The first thing is what you're asking is what I'm trying to push against, which is individual tips and tools to help. There's enough tips and tools. You have great tips and tools. What I'm saying is the nervous system is beyond, it's been basically damaged. It needs to be fully repaired. If you think of the physical body, if somebody has an ACL tear, they don't go, hey, coach, can you give me some tips and tools so I can perform better with an ACL tear? It's like, no. Tips and tools. No, you go and you get the knee reconstructed. You go to physical therapy and you make it strong. Then you come back and play. So tips and tools, your clients have a ton of those. You can't bring your nervous system back to health with individual tips and tools. Now, I'm going to send you my website to get one of our techniques so that you can see how effective it is and how deep they go. But what we saw is when you repair a nervous system, just like when you repair teeth or a heart, you need people who are trained to do a repair. That's what a heart surgeon is. That's what a dentist is. They've gone to school and then they understand the mechanics of how to fully repair the system. That's what we're doing that's so innovative. It's not surface level. But I will tell you the 3 phases of the process. And it's similar to the body. So phase 1 of the program is you repair. You basically learn a set of tools and exercises that you do every day that bring the nervous system sort of out of failure state. You stabilize it. Then you use a set of tools that retrain the nervous system. You bring it back to balance. You basically recalibrate it. Just like if you hurt your knee, first they repair the knee, then you go to physical therapy where you sort of rebalance the muscles and make it all healthy. Phase 3, after you've repaired it and retrained it, is now maintain it. What's the basic daily hygiene that you use on your nervous system every day to keep it healthy and strong? But those tools don't work until you have fully repaired the system. And that's what I want your audience to know. I don't want them to keep spending money on endless tools and techniques that are surface level. What we saw for me, the clients, our test cases, the real freedom was to go in with a full system to repair it and bring it back to full health. Now, what does that look like? There's a group that has a pretty healthy nervous system already. Do you know what that group is?
No idea.
Children. Children are like the ultimate personal development mindset pros. You will never see a child say, you know, I want to go to the park today, but I'm just feeling a real scarcity mindset. I'm afraid that perhaps they won't. No, kids just, I want to go to the park. Kids don't have self-doubt. Hey, Timmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? They don't say, well, I just feel that I don't belong. They're like, no, I want to be an astronaut, pilot, unicorn trainer. They are so full of confidence, of vision, of purpose. They're open-hearted. They're resilient. They have tons of energy. You do not kids don't do cocaine, I hope. So to your listeners, if you've ever thought, man, that young version of me was so full of possibility and confidence and hubris, and I had tons of energy, and I thought I was unstoppable, what we allow you to do is basically feel like a kid again. That's how I am right now. All this energy, this is not drugs. This is like the real passion and excitement of somebody that just has an original childlike nervous system. So I know I didn't answer your question with an individual tip or tool because that doesn't get the job done. We want to give clients real freedom. And to do that, you got to really do a deep repair and bring it back to full health.
No, I love that because in Pro Mindset, I talk about all the time, you have to have 7-year-old energy. You have to have a 7-year-old mindset because as a 7-year-old, you don't care about the outcome. You're not worried about other people's expectations. You're not even taking into consideration external stimuli. You're in the moment. One of the best things you can do to be great at what you do is to be in the moment. And adults can't do it because they're living in 3 different time zones. A lot of them are living in their past. Most of them are thinking about their future. They're scared of their future. They can't live in the now.
Testify, Craig, testify. Now, here's the thing. You know that. And some of your audience members are aware of that. They're aware that they can't perform and hit that flow state. The issue is what could we do such that flow state of being like a child, that's your default. Not because you did a bunch of techniques. That's just your default. I had a pro golfer come to me. She wasn't at the high end, but she was a pro golfer nonetheless. She says, I love golf, but during actual tournaments, I hit a bad shot. And instead of just noticing it, I crash. I crash, and the negative self-talk and the fear. And then, of course, I play poorly, which just creates this cycle. And she says, I've gone to sports psychologists, I've gone to mindset, I've done it all. And it helps a little bit, but it just keeps happening. And I explained to her, what if you just felt safe and solid? Just, that's your default. She said, oh my God, I haven't felt safe since I was a kid. I was like, yeah, welcome to the club. So she went through our program. The same way she repaired a physical injury, she repaired basically the injury on her nervous system. And she just felt solid and safe. So when she felt solid and safe, the fear was gone. When the fear is gone, that open-hearted joy of playing golf would come back. Then when she would make a bad shot, she told me, she said it was almost creepy. She said, I made a bad shot last week. And she said, Daniel, I just didn't care. I didn't care because I was having the fun of when I used to play golf as a child. Now, that's not the impressive part. The impressive part is she didn't need to remind herself to do that. That was her new default. So not only is she more consistent under pressure, but she's free. That's the power of what we're giving people.
I'm going to give you 4 situations, and the answer is the same to all 4, but I'm just going to throw them out there. Everybody that's listening is in one of 4 categories. They're either at the top of the mountain and they're trying to figure out if what they have and the state of being, their mindset, their identity, everything is consistent with the next mountain they want to climb. The second one is they're on the journey up the mountain and they've run into some difficulty. They've run into some detours. The third one is the person that's at rock bottom. They have PTSD. They need repair. They need a recovery system. They can't build anything until they rebuild their foundation. And then you have the people that are embarking on a journey that don't have any head trash. They don't have PTSD. They don't have any anxiety. They don't lack confidence. They're either young or they're trying something brand new. So when you look at those 4 situations, it seems to me your program could be beneficial for all of them, but especially for the people that are rock bottom. Because if you're in a rut and you can't figure out how to get out, you're feeling like, you feel like the world's caving in on you. It seems like by resetting your nervous system, it's like that saying that if you change you change everything around you.
Well, it's an excellent question. I can tell you get the potency of what I'm talking about. And so it's an excellent question that nobody's asked me. And again, I'm like, okay, I feel like we're 2 Jedis, just like, okay, what about this? So we work with basically 2 categories of clients. The first is what you said. They've got this crippling fear and anxiety and or panic attacks. It's crippling and it's painful. And they've tried all the meditations and the apps and the things. That's just surface level. And nothing's working. That's because their nervous system is crashed. And they are desperate and they're in pain. And they've tried everything and nothing solves it. This happened 2 weeks ago. A client came to me, says, I've had panic attacks since I was 12. I thought I just had to live with this because therapists and psychologists, he said, I met someone at a party who had panic attacks and it said that your program worked and that you only pay at the end, which got me intrigued because how can anyone be that confident? So we help people like that gentleman, John from Colorado. His anxiety and panic attacks went away. Also, he was suicidal because he felt so horrible because he couldn't be a father. He said, my kids are outside playing and I'm curled up in the fetal position. So he says, I don't feel like I'm a good father or husband. And when he reached out to us about halfway through the program and he said, I just want to thank you. The anxiety is almost completely gone. The panic attacks are fully gone. But more importantly, I was out playing with my kids for the first time in 3 years. So my kids have their dad back and my wife has her husband back. So we work with that group. But if you're paying attention to what I'm saying, which is what you are, the way we're able to get those results is because we're engineers and we figured out the mechanics of the nervous system and how to take it from fragile to healthy. But here's the thing about systems. If you understand a system, you can take it from fragile and not just take it from non-fragile, you can take it to strong. We all know that person who had a heart attack and almost died And then instead of just not having heart attacks, they used it as a wake-up call to understand their diet and exercise. And now they're really healthy. And they post some annoying picture of saying, like, I almost died from a heart attack, and now I'm doing marathons. And that's because when you understand the mechanics of the body, you can not just lower the pain, you can increase the strength. So we also work with high performers and high earners. They're not anxious. They're not scared. However, they do have patterns that keep repeating that they know is linked to a bit of self-doubt, insecurity, and low self-esteem. And they say, and they've used a lot of tools to manage it, and it's better, but they said it's still here holding me back. We had a gentleman who didn't have anxiety, but he had issues with sales. And he said, I get to the point of sales and I freeze up a little bit. And I've got tools and techniques and it's definitely better, but I've had it my whole life. And I said, we can solve that. And he said, if you could solve that, my life would be so much better. So he went through the program, the same program that basically gets rid of anxiety, but it's really just making your nervous system safe. So now he felt safe and solid, and he just felt confident. He didn't care about the outcome of the sale. The fear of the sale went away, and his sales shot up. So people who want to perform at a higher level do the program, and people that are in a lot of pain come to us. But what we want to do is we want to get this curriculum into schools to teach children what you can do every day so that you just feel safe and solid from within. Because, anxiety and suicide is the number 3 killer of teens in the U.S. And that's because the experts aren't getting the job done. So we know about dietary health, financial health. If we could teach kids nervous system health, here's what you do every day. And if you do these things every day, the brushing and flossing, you will feel safe and solid. Then social media can hit them. It doesn't matter. They can be bullied. It won't be fun, but it won't shatter them. They'll feel strong and resilient, and that leads to a life of happiness. Did I answer your question?
You did. No, I love the concept of strengthening your nervous system, because everybody has a different level of solid and safe every day. So let's just use 1 to 100, and let's say 100 is the world's best. You might be in the 80s, but they may not be the same. Maybe 87.2 one day, maybe 86.5 the next. But then you have a day where you don't get your sleep. Your schedule's crazy busy. You got, some like performance review with your boss. If you haven't strengthened your nervous system along the way, that day you're going to feel pain. That day you're going to feel the anxiety. Fair?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's the word that you've used that it resonates with me for athletes is training. When you are training, you're building, you're repairing, you're strengthening, you're doing all those things, but you're not performing. Even though you are performing, you're not performing because you're not being judged. It's not an event that people are watching on TV or you're coming to pay. It's in the dark. It's Anthony stuff. It's behind the scenes.
And when I was working with Vernon, he said I was trained to train through reps my physical body. Of course, athletes do this so that on game day they are strong. And he said, what's incredible about this, you've basically created a program to now have a strong nervous system where you train daily and it's strong and solid. I tell people I have an inner six-pack. And this is a revolutionary concept. Instead of being fragile and unsafe, and then game day comes and you try to manage it or visualize it, what if you're prepped ahead of time? You have an inner six-pack. You are just solid. Then when it's game day, whether it's life, sales, family, social media, you've prepared your body and you've prepared your nervous system, man. And our program is set up like an inner gym. We call them reps, and we say that every day you do daily cardio. And the beauty of that is these emotional things that people have struggled with, we know about them. But because it's in the body is mechanical, and you can train the body to be strong. And this is just training the nervous system to be strong. And when you have both physical strength and emotional strength that you've trained ahead of time, Vernon said if he had these tools when he was playing, he would have played longer, played better, and made more money. And he also said, I'm jealous because he wants to share. He coaches, and he said, this is what I wish all my athletes had. If all of my athletes just could train their nervous system so they woke up every morning feeling solid and safe, they would perform better. They'd make better decisions. They'd have higher self-esteem. And the beauty of it is you're not managing it all the time. It's just your default, and that's freedom. And then what's cool is, Craig, when you're always managing this stuff, it takes energy. It takes a lot of energy to always be managing. Like if you have an injury and you always got to be managing the injury. So if you can take all the energy where you used to manage this stuff and you just use it so that your nervous system is repaired and it's strong, then all that energy that went into managing the fear and the doubt and the anxiety, it just goes into performance. So for us, yes, we help people with anxiety, but we're also just empowering people to operate at full potential.
Well, one thing that pops in my mind that I can make a link to is that people in general, but athletes especially, that have poor functioning nervous systems also have addictions. And the addictions are to mask their anxiety. And it shows up in lots of different ways. But it's like it's a response to their anxiety. It's like today, something really cool could happen today. A big opportunity could present itself that we didn't expect when we woke up. If your nervous system is solid and safe, calm, confident, all that stuff, no big deal. Just like your 5-year-old. Hey, we're going to go to the park today. We're going to go to the zoo today. They don't care. They're going with you. Whereas if your nervous system is on, let's just say it's on low or it's damaged, it just takes that feather of something today that crumbles your whole day.
Man, you get this at a gold stars to you, Craig. Gold stars to you.
Gold stars.
I talk about this topic.
Rating after. Yeah, give me 5 stars after it's over.
No, because I go on a lot of shows. I speak at conferences. What we're doing is so next level. And I can say that because of the results we're getting. We have a 90% success rate. We only charge at the end when we get results. Do you know how you need to know what you're talking about to get those kind of results and to back up your results? I know this field inside and out. There's certain parts I don't understand, but this area I understand at a very high level, and most people kind of don't get it because it's an innovative way of looking at it, but you totally get it. And when we were developing the program, we wanted to make sure that this was universal. We didn't want it to be like spiritual and psychological. We wanted it mechanical. Everybody is the same internally, mechanically. You know, if you get a bit of cheeseburger in your windpipe, everybody chokes. It's not like some people say, oh, I'm from it. No, everybody chokes if your windpipe is blocked because that's mechanical. And everybody, if they are choking, if you do the Heimlich maneuver and you create enough air behind the cheeseburger and it pops out, everybody starts breathing again. So we said if what we've developed is truly universal and mechanical, it should work on everybody. So in the research and testing on this program, I lived in South Africa for 2 years working with addicts. And you're 100% right. There's such a high level of recidivism. I don't even know if I said that word right, but I think that's the word, because the addiction is a symptom of avoiding pain. They're numbing the pain. So the best you can ever hope to do is they're always going to go back or the pain is still there. And we showed people daily how to repair their nervous system. And they started quitting. But they weren't quitting the drug. They know the pain that was there got healed and they didn't need to numb it anymore. And we were getting such good results with this program that the South African government wanted to bring it in as the national response to both mental health and addiction, because as you said, they are linked. And that's the potency of this nervous system thing. Nobody is seeing the importance of a strong nervous system and that you can make it strong. But it has huge implications for confidence, for addiction, but also anger. People who have anger management. You're angry because you feel unsafe from within. So we have clients who come in who are angry, or they call it impatience. They work on their nervous system. It's strong and they feel safe. So they don't feel scared. So they're not angry. Parents come and they use the curriculum because when they feel safe, they can be a much more loving parent. And so this curriculum, we're so proud of it because it's a type of health the planet doesn't even know they need, but we're bringing it to people. And what I want is for every man, woman, and child to know what it's like to wake up every morning, not because anything is going well. As I wake up every morning, Craig, and I just feel safe. And this is someone who could not leave the house and was in the fetal position in terror. And I wake up every morning solid. Life pushes on me. I have challenges. I feel pressure, but nothing more. And so I'm present. I'm joyful. I'm happy. I keep going. I think I'm one of the poster child of personal development, but I don't do personal development anymore. I have the nervous system of a child, and it's just natural and automatic, and best of all, permanent freedom. And that's what I want your audience to know, is that you do not have to spend your life managing this stuff for the rest of your life. I appreciate your audience wants to be better, but the tools out there are surface level, and it keeps coming back. As you said, Craig, freedom. Like, just ask yourself, to you, Craig, or to your son, or to your audience, think of the implications if each person could just wake up every morning and no matter what's going on, they felt safe and solid. What would that mean for the planet?
It would be awesome. And it would be, if you go to a school, grade school, that's what you see. You see kids that are happy, joyful, peaceful. They're free. They don't have to worry about their mortgages. They don't have to worry about their social media likes. They don't have to worry about so many things that happen. So what happens is, as you go through the adulting process, and as you become more concerned about external recognition, external stimuli, external validation, we could use a billion different words, all of a sudden then you think it's an outside-in game. And what you're sharing is it's an inside-out game.
Absolutely. And it feels like an outside-in game. When your nervous system isn't strong, life pushes on you. Now, life pushes on you, you should feel some stress, about 2 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 in the situation. But people have fragile nervous systems and they feel unsafe. So then slightly challenging things happen on the outside. Then they feel all this fear, whether it's anxiety, fear of rejection, fear of failure, self-doubt. And we're told, oh, it looks like it's the thing. People would come to me and say, oh, I have anxiety now because of COVID. And I said, no. And I told them the metaphor of the teeth. I said, you don't blame the carrot. The carrot is the pressure. COVID is the pressure. Social media is the pressure. Wanting people to like you, it's pressure. But if you feel safe, you just feel pressure, but you don't feel the fear. And I can tell you this happened 2 weeks ago. The thing that used to scare me the most, I don't know if you can relate, was walking up to a woman that I didn't know and then asking for a phone number. It just used to scare the living bejesus out of me. Not you, Craig. You're suave. You're world's most interesting man. But I'm mortal.
I got to jump in there and say that if I did that, my wife would kill me. So I would probably be more scared than you. I'd have more fears than you.
Fair enough. And that is legitimately terrifying. That's not a nervous system issue. That's a wife issue. All right. The point is, my whole life, and I was a comedian for a lot of years, and I could perform in front of 1,000 people, no problem. I would get off stage, talk to a pretty girl, and I would turn into Forrest Gump. I'd just be like, my name is Daniel. You smell like vanilla. I would become terrified, and I couldn't understand it. Now, looking back, I had a fragile nervous system. Then when I wanted her approval, it should have just created some stress, but it was creating terror. So 2 weeks ago, I see this woman, and I see her, and I want to go talk to her. And there was no fear. It was bizarre. I went, wait a minute. Where is it? Where's the fear? Where is it? It wasn't there. So I walked up to her and I started talking to her, and I'm waiting for the fear to come back. It didn't come back. So I'm sitting there, I'm chatting, I'm flirting. Now, because I feel safe, I'm open-hearted. I'm charming. I'm funny. I'm the best, most magnificent version of myself. So then I'm thinking, I'm going to ask for her number. Now, I thought about the old me. And I was like, no, that's too scary. That's too scary. But then I didn't feel any fear, Craig. It was bizarre. I felt like Neo in the Matrix, but I had this safe nervous system. So I didn't care what she thought of me. It was an absolutely out of body experience. And I asked for the phone number and she said, yes. I didn't care about the phone number. I thought it was fantastic data that I felt completely calm in a situation that would have been terrifying. Why did it happen? It happened because I knew I use our own tools and I feel completely safe from within. And now something that used to terrify me doesn't. And that's freedom. And as you can imagine, with the fear gone, everybody's better at what they do. I was super charming, but also athletes are better, parents are better, your sales are better, your communication's better. The implications are huge.
Daniel, for those that are interested in checking you out, checking out your program to do a nervous system reset, why don't you share with everybody where they can find you?
Thank you, Craig. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you to your audience. If you made it this far, well, you have made it this far if you're hearing this. Thank you for hearing the value in what I'm sharing. And thank you for being someone who just wants to be a better you in this world. It takes courage to change. But thank you to you, Craig, for your excellent questions. You kept me on my toes. You got me excited. So I like things simple. Okay. I'm going to send them to my website. My name is Daniel Packard. What do you think my website is, Craig?
DanielPackard.com.
More gold stars for you, Craig. 7.5 gold stars. All right. Now, here's who should go to my website. We're not for everybody. If you have either anxiety, fear of rejection, fear of failure, self-doubt, any pattern that you know underneath has some fear, or you can see, I bet if I felt safer, it would help with my performance to be at a higher level. If that resonates with you, and what you've heard me say is that this is completely solvable permanently, and that it's simple because it's in the body. Now, I don't expect you to fully believe me, but I expect you to be curious about what I'm saying. If you're curious to learn more, you go to danielpackard.com. You can either book a free consultation with me, and I can show you what we're doing. I'll explain to you how we can help you, and I'll explain to you our program. And again, you only pay at the end when this is fully solved. The other thing you can do is go and get a free training. Why is it free? Because it's simple. We want to lower obstacles to get people healing. Go download the free training at danielpackard.com, and you are going to understand why you feel unsafe from within yourself. That has nothing to do with the past and nothing to do with the present or the future. It's something you are doing to yourself unknowingly, making you feel unsafe from within. Then we're going to show you the theory on how to strengthen the nervous system so you feel safer. Then you're going to apply one of the techniques from our program. It's not the whole system, but it's one of our most effective techniques that you can apply and learn quickly. You're going to apply it to your nervous system, and you are going to measurably, because you're going to measure this, you're going to feel measurably safer and less anxious. You're going to think of something that would make you afraid or anxious, and it won't make you as afraid or anxious. And that's from a 3-minute exercise. And what that's going to show you is not only how these tools work, but then they can work for you. It's going to give you a real result. If you have crippling anxiety, it's going to give you hope that you don't have to live like this forever. If you just have some insecurities, some fear of rejection, fear of failure, and you think, well, I have to have some of that. No, you don't. This will show you that we can solve this permanently, and it's simple. So if you think 45 minutes is a good use of time to see if you can be free of fear and anxiety for the rest of your life, if that's you, if you like what I've been saying and you want to have your own result so you can feel this for yourself, if you'd like to wake up every morning just feeling safe and solid from within, so that no matter what's going on in the world, you can be more joyful, more present, more authentic, happier, and more magnificent for you and the people that care about you. If that sounds good to you, that's what we want to help you with. And you can go to my website. What's my website, Craig?
DanielPackard.com.
I can tell you're an agent, man. You were ready to support me with that.
I'm ready, baby.
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much. I'm just, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to see if it can cure my fear of snakes. Bada boom.
Let's see. Send me a video, you doing one of our technique with a snake in your lap. I would love to see what happens because I'm a scientist. Let's collect the data, baby.
Oh, baby, I don't know if I could do that. I just want to not jump off the couch when a snake shows up on the TV.
I appreciate that.
All right, my man. Hey, thank you so much. Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.